Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Total NASL Roundtable. It is the sprint for the spring championship, and it is getting so excited. How are you tonight, Mike?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it has been another crazy week in the NASL. Indy 11, the only undefeated team so far this season, and it is pretty shocking to a lot of people. Indy 11 beat Oklahoma City or Rayo OKC 2-1. Mike, your thoughts on the match, and why are Indy 11 undefeated so far?
Well, first start with the thoughts on the match. Raya OKC dominated this one, and you could tell it just by watching the game, the highlights, the stats. I mean, they're a really, really good team, and it would not surprise me if they made the playoffs this year. It really wouldn't. I think once they start getting going and start gelling together as the season progresses throughout the rest of the spring and into the fall, this team is going to be dangerous. And then the stats that came out this week, they lead the league in passing accuracy and a couple other stats as well. Michelle and Boateng, I mean, those guys are just ridiculous. They could easily be playing in a much higher league, whether that be MLS or something even higher, and do just fine. Um, this game really for Indy 11, it wasn't about the stats or who got on the scoring sheet or anything like that. It was just a good old fashioned, old school, hardworking mentality type of game for Indy 11, and that's why they came away with 3 points. They just kept working and they got after it. And whatever it was that Rio OKC could do, Indy 11 had their answer. Was it a pretty game? No. Um, did Indy 11 play ugly? No. It was just a good old fashioned, hardworking style of game. You can't really delve into the tactics a whole lot because that's the way they played. I mean, it was just a good, hardworking 90 minutes. They switched things up once Brad Ring left with an injury, went to a 4-4-2, looked like a diamond in the middle with Nicky Patterson being the holding defensive midfielder, and then Sinisha Ubi Peripovic as the attacking midfielder in a more in a role he's used to playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that formation worked really well. It'll be interesting to see this next match coming up against Edmonton if Indy 11 will put players in a few different positions that they're not used to playing. Against the Cosmos, Dylan Mayers played as an outside mid. This past game against Rilo OKC, Sinisha Ubi Peripovic played as an outside mid as well. Positions they're not used to playing. So it'll be interesting to see that. I will say, though, that Jair Reynoso, that guy, man, that goal was amazing. 7 minutes in, what a terrific goal that was. Started by John Bush, played it out wide to Sinisha Ubi Peripovic, who just played a long ball over the top. Took one bounce, and Reynoso put it in the back of the net. It's unfortunate that during the live feed, it was actually during the middle of a replay that they were showing for Raya OKC, and they went quickly back to it. And just by watching the replay and the highlights, I mean, the goal just keeps getting better and better every time you watch it. And then there at the end, when Vukovic was able to score off the header from the set piece, the whole group of players went right towards the goal, and he just stayed there at the top of the six unmarked and was able to put it in the back of the net. So just a total team effort against Rilo OKC, and that's why they came away with the win. And I think that's what you're going to see from here on out, in my opinion, is the Indy 11's not going to dominate the stat sheet. They're not going to win the possession. They're not going to be the most glamorous team in the league. I know Teo said on his podcast he's not completely sold on Indy 11, which is a fair point because they're not, flashy or anything of that sort. They put in the work. They're a veteran team, and they just take care of business, and that's what they have done the last 2 games.
So, Mike, you think your boys in blue, the Indy 11, do you see them making a run for the championship maybe? They are in fourth place in the spring season so far.
That's a fair question. That's a good question to ask. Um, I still don't think the toughest part of the spring schedule has come yet for Indy 11. I think once they play Edmonton, that's when the toughest part of their schedule begins in the spring season for Indy 11, in my opinion. They go down to Fort Lauderdale the following weekend after playing Edmonton. And yes, the Strikers have been struggling and haven't really shown much in the league. But when you're a team that's not used to playing in the heat and humidity in South Florida, that can be a big obstacle to overcome. Then they play Minnesota after that at home, and then they play Jacksonville on the road. And up until Wednesday night, Jacksonville looks like the best team in the league at home. On the road, different story, but when you're playing them at home, they're the toughest team to beat in the league. Then they play at Miami FC. If Dario Savitanic is healthy for Miami, look out, because he's, I think, the most dangerous striker in the league right now when healthy. And then, of course, they end the spring season with the league leaders, Carolina Railhawks. So, I mean, there are no cupcake games here on out. I think Indy 11 has a little bit of an advantage this game heading into this weekend against Edmonton. But the rest of the schedule, I mean, it's going to be difficult, very, very difficult. If they win the league, that's great. If they finish in the top 4 or 5, I will be ecstatic either way. I don't see them having a complete collapse and finishing towards the bottom of the table, but I do see them competing at least in the top half of the table for the spring season, and I'm still holding to my guns and saying that they'll finish 6th or 7th at the end of the fall season.
So reviewing this past weekend's matches, the Fury beat Miami 2-0. The Rowdies took over Fort Lauderdale by a score of 1-0. In 11-2-1 over Rayo OKC, and the Cosmos beating the league leaders at the moment. The Carolina Railhawks 1-0, a big match for the New York Cosmos, and a great 3 points, and a match where I think the Cosmos can go forward, and I finally think that the Cosmos are going to win the spring season after this win. And then last night, Jacksonville played FC Edmonton, and FC Edmonton won by a score of 1-0. So moving on, sort of like a quick fire, Mike. Give us your match predictions if you have them at the moment on this weekend's match. So let's start out with Ottawa against Minnesota.
Ottawa against Minnesota. This is a rematch of last year's semifinal. I think a lot of Ottawa fans and Minnesota fans will tell you this is probably their team's biggest rival. I will go Minnesota 2, Ottawa 1.
And then Jacksonville, Oklahoma.
Jacksonville, Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma wins this game 2-0.
And we have Carolina against Fort Lauderdale. I think Carolina is going to take this one for sure.
Yeah, I don't see them relinquishing their lead or any points against Fort Lauderdale. I've said in the past I'm going to go keep going against Fort Lauderdale until they show me something. So I'm going to go Carolina 3, Fort Lauderdale Strikers 0. And
your guys, Indy 11, FC Edmonton. This is a home match for you guys there. What are your thoughts on this one?
I will go Indy 11 2, FC Edmonton 0.
Oh, whoa. You guys are playing the home field advantage, right?
That's right.
So New York Cosmos, Miami FC. This is going to be a tough one, but Miami sort of have dipped in form. In the beginning of the year, they looked like a very exciting team on the expansion side, but it looks like things are not going according to plan. But it's only been 5 matches so far. And for an expansion side, this is the normal things going on in the league. So I feel the Cosmos are going to win 2-0. Mike?
Yeah. I mean, I see it being a difficult game for the Cosmos, but I mean, I think give it some time for Miami. They'll be competing in the league in seasons to come, but I don't think this year is their year for that. They're still in the building process, working things out, but I see Cosmos taking this game.
And let's touch on for a couple of minutes here. There was a rally held for the Cosmos proposed stadium. It was not by the organization, it was not by the supporter group, but it was by the labor companies, the federations, and everyone that wanted this stadium to be approved. And they were sort of rallying, saying, like, why did this take so long? And I know that there was this guy's name is Caesar. He was there making everyone sign a petition because he wants to mail it to Governor Cuomo, and he tried to get as much signatures as he could. Shouts out to Caesar because he is working his butt off to get it done. But Mike, what are your thoughts on this? Because it's come to this point where we really have to rally together and sort of tell everyone that we want a stadium. And two, I saw a tweet that Eric Stover said that there is no other options. It's just this option, and we're going to hear something soon. But we've been hearing soon for a really long time.
Right. Look, the playing at Hofstra, they're not drawing very many fans. They're the pinnacle or the premier team of the NASL. It's why the NASL exists. They're very dominant and big on social media, but they can't attract fans to their stadium. So they have to get out of Hofstra. I know I hear a lot of people don't really understand why they play Sunday nights, but I know they have a lacrosse team and other teams that play there on Saturdays and Saturday afternoons, forcing the Cosmos to play on Sunday nights, which isn't a good time slot. So yeah, they have to build a new stadium as long as it has good access and easy access to the stadium. I know Hofstra is not always the easiest place to get to, at least from what I've heard. I've never been there. It's interesting that they want to build a stadium next to the Belmont horse racing track, because I know Belmont has been losing a lot of money. At least the horse racing track has the last 15, 20 years because of the horse racing. So maybe if they do build the stadium, it's a win-win for everyone. More people come out to the Cosmos games, and more people visit the Belmont.
Yeah, that's the hope for sure. Eric Stover always says that this is going to bring a lot to the economy. It's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring everything to the area. So that's going to do that for tonight. This is all we have so far. But I feel like we need to throw out another video, maybe me talking about the Cosmos Stadium and sort of what we talked about in short here. And we need to go in depth because there is a lot of things. Because there's a short-term goals. Because if, say, the Cosmos don't stay at Hofstra, where are they going to go next season? Because I think that may be a conversation that we might have, and then the future as well. If we don't get this stadium, and that's always the thought process at the moment, is if we don't get the stadium, where do we go? And that's really hard to think, because at one time you think this club is going to stay around forever, but when you really think our future is dependent on a stadium bid, that's huge to think about, and it fully didn't get into my head until recently. So it's really hard to swallow.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, John, for having me on tonight, and
And
hopefully talk to you soon.
yeah, and you guys could subscribe to the channel. If you're new, subscribe. Keep up to date. Follow us on Twitter at Total NASL, and we will see you guys real soon.